Welcome, and on this edition of Business Spotlight, I'm joined by Paul Sammeroff, who's the founder and director of PAS Capital. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you very much for having me, Bjorn.
Nice that you're here. So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about what your company does?
Sure. So PAS Capital, we're in year 4. We are predominantly an oil and gas and renewables recruitment company. We have recently created another division, another sector, health and social. And also we've gone into, as you can see behind me, we've gone into sports, which is executive search in recruitment, but within the footballing industry. I'd say we are more of a consultancy firm. And the reason why I say that is because we don't just do the recruitment side of things. We actually payroll all our contractors. So every Friday, we're payrolling. It could be £150,000 a week. It could be in multiple different countries. On top of that, we also obtain visas for our contractors when they work abroad. We've placed in about 35 countries thus far.
Wow.
And we do, I don't know, quite a few other little bits and pieces, but the crux of it is tends to be recruitment with the visa processing and payroll.
Okay. And so let's come on and we'll talk a bit about your business success in a minute. But what's led you to this point? What made you set up the company in the first place, Paul?
Well, tried and tested once before. I believe I learned quite a bit from the first company, and then I just felt like I had unfinished business. I took a sabbatical from, I'd say, 2016 to 2019. We ended up moving to Barcelona, where we had our second child.
Wow.
My little boy. And then when we were moving back to Glasgow, I just felt like I had unfinished business. Went to go and work for a company who is the owner of that business is to this day one of my main mentors in the industry. I went down south for 3 or 4 months to work for him, and I kind of thought, you know what, I want to do this all over again. I was poached, or I was approached or poached, either or, by 2 individuals, and we decided to go into business together. That's where the initials came from, the 3 of us, PAS.
Okay.
And then I managed, I completed a management buyout on the 27th of January this year.
Okay. So it's just you at the moment. You're the sole director.
Correct.
Good. And so it sounds like you've had tremendous success in 4 years. Take me through, how it started to where it is now. What the key milestones been?
Yeah, blood, sweat, tears, pain, sleepless nights. No, I sleep very well at night. I think, we started literally 2 months before COVID. So the whole concept of what we do is placing people internationally. Now, we do a lot in the North Sea or up north, across the UK. But the crux of our business and my business model was supplying visas to personnel abroad. So that just went out the window. So the first year was horrific, as it was, I'm sure, for many other companies. And then the following year was a case of, the doors were open for travel and allowing different companies were more accessible to sending out guys from the UK. But then the goofy thing was we were just trying to find people who wanted to come and work in an office, because now people were very accustomed to kind of hybrid roles. And I think my main philosophy within the business is I want people to work alongside each other and to think together, to go after projects together. A lot of other recruitment companies might be, that's your desk, that's your business, you do your thing, crack on type of scenario. But that's never been the way that I've done it. I want people to work cohesively together. Kind of the end goal would be kind of beneficial to everyone. So it was quite interesting because we utilised the government grants
Yep.
to bring in quite a lot of people, which came with a lot of their kind of challenges as well.
Mm.
But delighted to say that we retained a lot and we moved a lot into full-time employment, which was very good, obviously. But again, year two was a lot of it was still me going out to win business. And because I'm going out to win business, that's not sustainable. That's not going to grow a business.
Mm.
So that was, albeit we tripled in turnover that year. It was a lot of training, a lot of on-the-job training, and trying to win some of my old clients that maybe back in the day, 10 years ago, that I've dealt with. So we had to get our whole business, from your licensing, from your invoice factoring facility up and running, insurances for international work. So we got all the accreditation sorted out in year two, and then year three we really kicked on. We went from 700,000 to 2.1 million in turnover.
Wow.
And a lot of the people that we trained started to win their own business and their clients. And fast forward another year, as in this year, I'm hoping we will do close to about 6 or 7 million turnover.
Wow, what a story. And what, 4 years since you started?
Yeah, 3.5 years, and the pain of going through a management buyout for 12 months.
Yeah.
Whilst obviously having children and trying to just I don't know, become a better person all round, etc., etc.
Yeah. And so it sounds like you've got quite a lot of training going on with the team. Has that been an essential part of your plan? Is that something you do moving forward as well? How do you work that?
I think the first company that I started, I brought in a lot of people who had been there and done that, so they said, and it's very set in their ways, and I just couldn't deal with it. It just it just didn't work.
Yeah.
I think for me, I really wanted the kind of training that I had and that I'd been successful doing the recruitment side of things, and the way I was taught, so to speak. So yeah, a lot of training on the job. It's now to a point where I can leave the office and I don't have to stress. But that's only literally just got to that stage. But we still constantly hire. We've just brought in we've just brought in 5 new faces. One's a sales director and four graduates. So again, it's all on the job training. But the beautiful thing is we've got people in the office who've been with us 2.5 years who can also give a lending hand, which is it's a proud moment when you see somebody helping and giving back, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And is everyone in the office then, or did you go hybrid? How did you end up working?
Yeah, we had offered the 4 days in the office, Monday through Thursday and Friday working from home. We've now gone back to everyone's in the office. We have 17 people in the Glasgow office. We've got 2 people work from home, but they are financing and visa support.
Okay.
And then we have 4 people who work in Pakistan who've been with us for 3 years.
Okay,
They
so
do a lot.
of a mix.
Sorry, carry on.
No,
Yeah,
it's just a bit of a mix.
Yeah, but I'd say 17 people here in the office. So the majority will be here. The majority of the sales will be done directly in our Glasgow office.
And why did you decide to go into that sector specifically to start with, oil and gas and renewables?
Yeah, great question. When I finished my short football career in the States, I had no clue what I was going to do, and bumped into one of my friends who gets a mention in all podcasts I go on, Zachary. So Zach, it was like a Wolf of Wall Street type of thing. I said, right, how are you doing so well? I want to
So what's
watch
coming
you.
next? Yeah.
Yeah, but it was more, you're doing very well. I want to watch what you're doing. So we basically, he drove around London, beautiful car, and he was on his earpiece. And for about 2 hours, he was just speaking to a couple of different people and he was explaining what he's doing. And I was like, well, it can't be that easy. He says, of course it's not that easy. I've had to build relationships with the banks to then get the people in. And I said, well, do you know what? I think this is an industry for me. Met with a couple of companies, and one company took the calculated risk, I believe, in bringing me on board. And they had a lot of old sports individuals that worked for the company, that were working for the company. They said it's a competitive environment. It's all be number one in the sales board, blah, blah, blah. And because I had a Scottish accent, they said, you're doing oil and gas. So there was no rhyme and reason to it.
Right, okay.
It was just the accent. They were a finance and IT company. And fast forward about 6 months down the line, I was literally dealing with some of the biggest service companies in the oil and gas industry, Halliburton and Baker Hughes being two of the main ones. These companies turn over, I don't know, 10, 15 billion a year. And that was it. It was nothing else to it. There was nothing. There was no smart processes or anything like that. It was booming at that point. Then subsequently, recently, not recently, probably the last 3 or 4 years, I really want to get into renewables. Obviously, the world's changing and carbon neutral and blah, blah, blah. So we've gone into renewables over the last 4 years. But this year, we've taken a much more strategic approach to it. On top of that, health and social. Again, health and social is a huge industry. Whether that's for local councils or care homes, a big market. And then, like I said, executive search and the football side of things. That's because it's my passion and a hobby.
Yeah, there's some clues there behind you on the wall, Paul. So tell us a bit about how you got interested in that and what your experience was. You mentioned you did some footballing in America, is that right?
Yeah. I call myself a failed professional footballer.
Oh.
So, no, I'm very blessed playing over the States, etc., etc. But there's a lot of recruitment companies in the UK. I couldn't give you a figure, but I mean, I don't know, tens of thousands. I've got no clue, right?
Yeah.
Industry, I think I Googled something today, was 140 billion a year on recruitment. And very rarely will you see a niche come up in the market. I think there are 2 executive search companies in the world that are really, really strong at doing the footballing side of things.
Yeah.
Also in football, the world's changing. And what I mean by that is it used to be a chairman, a manager, the team.
Yeah.
Now they've got the analytics, the doctors, sporting directors. They've also kind of more the American franchise way. Lot of huge investments, obviously from Saudi, from Qatar, from the States. You're talking about tens of billions have gone into it. So I just think there's a really good opening.
Yep.
We've recently brought in a sales director who's got 10 years experience in recruitment, but he was professional football for 15 years. So Kevin will join. Albeit he's gone as a sales director, but this will be one of his bags that he'll also be joining the team on.
And so what type of placements will you make in that space?
So executive search, I mean, I feel like it would be types of roles would be maybe like a sporting director. So, I mean, if you look at the recent CEO who came in at Rangers, for example, there's no footballing background to him. You know, he's worked at some reputable big companies, but he's also taken the role at 38 years old. And I think the industry is definitely changing. You know, there's a lot of younger coaches are coming in. A lot of the teams are bringing in lots of foreign personnel. So I just think there's some very big opportunities. And once the newbies in the office next door are up to kind of the level I need them to be at, we're going to really steamroll ahead of this. We've recently sponsored Glasgow City Women's Football Club.
Great.
They are the winningest team in Scottish women's football. I've fallen in love with them, with their club. they'll tell you that I'm pretty much go to every single game now. And then we were approached of late, well, recently, maybe about 2 or 3 months ago, from Aberdeen Football Club.
Wow.
So we're about to announce that sponsorship this month.
Congratulations. And they approached
Thank
you?
you.
What an honour.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think that was really nice. It was. I thought it was a prank. Genuinely thought it was a prank. And they just said they'd seen our stuff that we'd done with Glasgow City. They'd seen the kind of what we were doing in the sporting world, or what we were starting, and obviously with the oil and gas background in Aberdeen, it kind of just made sense.
Yeah, good. And so what changes do you think you're going to see in your sector that might mean that your business has to adapt in the next 5 years?
Oh wow. Okay, interesting. I think we are quite ahead of the curve when it comes to certain things in the oil and gas industry. And what I mean by that is we kind of, we know where there's skill shortages, or this is something that we look into. So we do a lot of business in Australia.
Yep.
So much so that we deal directly with the Home Office, as in we apply for visas for our guys. And I think this is probably one of our biggest USPs, is that we can obtain a visa within 1 to 3 days to go work in Australia. And it took us time.
Yeah.
A dossier of documentation provided to the Home Office, and quite a few meetings, etc. But the next 5 years, everyone's been saying oil and gas and, it's going to stop and blah, blah, blah. In my opinion, it won't stop for 20, 30 years. So, but there's a big push for green and renewables. So we were recently the only company represented at the Renewables Expo here in Glasgow at the SEC Centre.
Okay.
It's good. It was good fun. We actually took a big booth, and we had like a BATAC machine. I never knew what a BATAC machine was till then. So it's basically one of those machines where you've got the lights that shine, and then you've got to hit it and get a score.
Yeah.
So we basically brought that in, and we had our oil and gas and our logo and renewables and stuff, and a barcode that people could scan. So basically, companies were coming up, doing the BATAC, coming to meet us, chat with us, etc., etc. So I think what was quite interesting was that we were literally the only recruitment company represented there.
And why do you think that was?
It's a good question. I mean, incredibly expensive, but no, I think I don't know. I'm a firm believer you speculate to accumulate.
Yeah.
I don't know. Baffled, because we recently went to the London Expo, and there's a magnitude of British, recruitment companies that are represented there. So I don't know. I definitely feel there's a big difference between Glasgow recruitment companies and recruitment companies down south. Absolutely. Yeah. I think the work ethics down in London are far superior. It's much more difficult to keep up with the Jones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure. As you know, it's incredibly expensive to rent and purchase down in London. So that's been a big battle for me, is finding the right people who are committed to the cause within the business.
And how do you make sure they're committed to the cause? How do you find the right people? Do you have a process that you go through that means that you've got a better chance of getting the right fit?
So recently we brought in, generally I think 5 or 6 new heads in the last 6 weeks or so. But we interviewed 30 plus people, a lot of people. And it's not just a one-stage interview. The first stage goes with the operations director, with Alec. And then when he likes him, myself and Kevin then conduct interviews after. We kind of discuss them. We have a team meeting after to see who we believe is going to be right for the business. But you don't get things right 100% of the time.
I guess nobody does. It's a difficult thing, but
correct.
Just interested to hear what you had to say. So if you were doing it all over again, Paul, what would you change?
Oh, good one. Well, I mean, I went to business with 2 guys who, one was a silent partner and the other one was supposed to be helping with the recruitment side of things, did absolutely nothing. However, on the other side of things, our financials were incredibly strong. And what I mean by that is our paper trails. And because then when I was going through the management buyout, it was very easy for me when I was getting audited to have new banks approach for our business. So, albeit incredibly negative experience, very blessed that we had all those things, quite strong processes in the background. Doing it again, yeah, good question. Yeah, probably just knowing when I should have probably attempted a management buyout, maybe even slightly earlier, albeit it took me 12 months. I kind of thought I definitely saw signs, but I don't know. Maybe I trusted people too much. What else? Probably bringing in somebody who I've got very strong work ethics, but maybe trying to bring in somebody at an earlier stage who had strong recruitment experience. So somebody who could take some of the weight off my shoulders.
And that leads me nicely on to my last question, which is, if you were to give anyone else advice who's starting out in business, what might it be?
Okay, right. So for this one here, as you know, well, there's so many different types of business. If you do need cash at the beginning, you have to be really cautious with who you go into business with, and you need to know their roles. So, for example, if you are at 8 till 6 p.m. every single day, but that person is a 9:30 to 4:30, as long as you're content with that and you're happy with that, then that's fine. But you really need to identify your roles prior to going into business with other people. There's so many things that you're going to have to learn. A lot of people, you know, they just think it's going to be easy and they're going to leave one company, start up their own company. Those clients are going to come with them. Well, then you've got things like restricted covenants. And also, when you're just starting a company, you've got no substance, no backing, you've got no credibility or anything. Now, if they buy into you and they bought into you in the past, then hopefully they'll come with you. But I think a lot of people believe that when they do start their own venture, that the business is going to come in straight away. So you need to have a time frame when you know that you can survive without bringing in the business, effectively the money, etc. That's really important. I think a lot of people, I don't want to use the word delusional, but a lot of people can be. They just think that they're just going to go and then everything will be hunky-dory.
And they underestimate it, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. But there's so many different factors, from your website to your marketing presence to accreditation to banking. You know, nowadays you can't just open a business bank. There's a whole KYC process that goes involved. But if anyone does want any assistance or any guidance or anything, I'm always reachable via LinkedIn or email, etc. If I can help, I don't charge in the slightest. If I can give any advice, I'm always delighted to do so.
Well, that's a lovely offer, and hopefully people will take you up on it, because clearly you've got a whole load of experience and you're doing great things. So we wish you continued success and all the best for the future, Paul. Thanks for coming on.
Yvonne, I thoroughly appreciate you having me on, and I look forward to meeting you very soon.
Thank you.